Testing 1, 2, 3. This is us coming back to YouTube. Haven't had it set up in a minute. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hi peeps, welcome back to my channel after a very long time. So I suppose welcome back to myself as well, because it's been a minute. Really good to be back. I have been on a bit of a hiatus. Life's been very busy in really pleasant ways, most of which I'm going to be talking about in this video. As you can see from the caption, I am here to give you guys tips on planning your lobola day, and I am able to give you these tips because I recently got married. Yay! I got married to the love of my life in June, and yeah, I learned a lot in the process that I am willing and excited to share with you guys, just so you don't have to go through some of the travesties that I had to go through in getting my day together and my experience. So without further ado, let's get started with today's video. So I am going to be doing these in no particular order. I'm just going to list them and then you can rank them based on what is most important to you. But the first thing that I want to talk about, tip number 1, is, guys, and this tip is especially for my Zim girls, because I know a lot of the time, given the situation that a lot of us are in foreign lands and we only go, well, not only go back home, but when we do get married, we go back home for it. And so you know how it is these days. You're trying to plan like a lobola day that is in most cases more than just like the men coming over, negotiating, you getting paid for. It's such a weird trade, but whatever. And I know people are trying to like celebrate, like, you know how we do it. We do a roora day these days. Like, you celebrate, you have a party, a wedding, whatever you want to call it. And so obviously for you to be able to achieve that, you need vendors, you need suppliers, you need people that are going to do your decor, your catering, etc., etc. My tip is number 1, guys, do not pay those people in full before the day. If you're working with the vendor and they offer you an opportunity to pay only, like, let's say half upfront to be able to secure your booking, rather do that. The reason I say this is because I remember on my day, there were certain services that I was extremely disappointed in, and I had already paid in full, because it's just easier that way. When you're outside the country, you send the money once, like wire it once to whatever vendor you're going to be using, and you know that that expense, number 1, is sorted, and number 2, also just the admin of having to like exchange currency, like, you don't want to do that. You want to do things as easily as possible. So sometimes we find it easier to pay in full, but I'm saying don't, because on my day, guys, 2 services in particular that disappointed me so much. First being the catering people. So they showed up on time and everything, brought the stuff that I had paid for, but unfortunately their burners were not working. So the food was served like borderline cold, guys. I can't even say lukewarm. It was like borderline cold. And I was so disappointed because they didn't even bother to tell me and come up and say, yo, we have a situation, the burners are not working, so this is the state that we're serving the food in. I found out when I took the first bite of a plate of food that I had paid for, and I was sitting there feeling miserable because my guests were going through it with that lukewarm food. And it was too late. No way I'm gonna be like, guys, stop eating, let's microwave. Like, it was done, you understand? I only got to have a conversation with them after the, not even after like eating or whatever, after the day, because you're so busy on that day. I was just like, you know what, it's done, we've already eaten the cold food, let's move on. So I didn't even get to address it on the day, but I was very disappointed, and for that reason I wished I had not paid in full, because that way you can at least negotiate how much you give them of the balance that you owe, based on if they were able to show up and fully perform the service that they said that they would. And I also experienced a similar situation with my photographer. Like, I need a whole story time on my photographer, guys. Like, I'm not even going to get into it, but he disappointed me majorly. He arrived late. My wedding pictures were taken in the dark. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, that's a story for another day. But yeah, point being, do not pay your service providers in full before the day. If you can avoid it, do. Pay half and then balance them on the day. So, tip number 2, and I think this one especially goes out to couples that are planning their lobola day or their roora day from outside of Zim. This tip especially goes out to you. Guys, the minute that you guys know that you have set lobola plans, set roora plans, and you know this thing is going to happen and you set a date, start looking for service providers. I give you this tip from a very painful place because I had a difficult time finding service providers in Zim. I live in South Africa, so I'm used to the concept of if I need a service provider for anything, it's as easy as going onto Google, plugging in a couple of words, pressing search, and a bunch of service providers will be listed in abundance. You will even run out of time to look through them all. And you can pick the one that best suits whatever it is that you're trying to get done. I learned in Zim, things are a little bit different. Well, not a little, actually, a lot different. A lot of these businesses are not registered online or anything. So you're not going to find them on like your Google. You can't do just like a Google search of caterers in Zimbabwe, decor service providers in Zimbabwe. I remember having to go through Instagram and Facebook to search for service providers. And mind you, this task in itself was not easy because I don't know the names of the service providers I'm looking for. So I mainly had to use like hashtags to search and stuff. Some of the top searches that come up with more ease would be service providers that charge an arm and a leg. And I say this because it was outside of my budget. If you've got like millions or whatever to spend on a lobola day shop, then maybe it's not going to be as difficult for you. But I'm speaking to the guy and the girl that are a lot like us and we're working on a budget. And I was trying to stick to that budget so you can get everything done and still be at a happy place financially afterwards. You want to start looking for your service providers early. Another reason is because the earlier you do it, the more service providers you're likely to find and the more you're able to have time to weigh your options. You don't want to end up having to panic booking the one person you've managed to speak to, one person you've managed to find. They're not really what you like. They're not really giving you or offering you what you had in mind or what you wanted. But now because the day is drawing closer and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to book somebody, you end up paying this person and end up receiving a service that you're not entirely happy with. So my tip again, the minute that you find out you guys have solid lobola plans, roora plans, start looking for service providers. It's not easy. I think another tip I would give just attached to that is talk to people that also have recently gotten married and see who they made use of on their roora days as well. It's always good to work with service providers who have a point of reference that is real, not these like fake comments we see in posts and stuff. Someone you actually know and whose information you can rely on and whose feedback and rating you can rely on. That's also quite a big help. And yeah, main thing being, start early. If you are booking or trying to plan a day in Zim, it's not easy. You want as much time as you can get. Point number 3, and I think this one especially goes out to the girls because I think in most cases the girls do most of the planning. Like we're the ones that are very particular about, oh, I want this color, oh, I want these flowers, oh, I want, you know what I mean? We're very particular. And another thing I would encourage you to do, tip number 3, would be have as much as possible. Have an idea of what you want, like in your head. Have your colors set out if you can. Have an image of your dress. Have an image of like the setup, etc., etc. I know it can be very difficult, and I will acknowledge that it is kind of difficult sometimes. I don't know about y'all, but when my lobola thing was happening, when my roora thing was being planned by me, I quickly realized that I actually had never really fully imagined my roora day. I'd always imagined my white wedding, but I had never really imagined my roora day. So I actually didn't know to the T, like, oh, I want this color, I want this setup, I want this and that. Like, I literally felt like I was starting from scratch in that sense. And one thing that I quickly came to learn is that the minute that you do manage to get in touch with service providers, they want very specific ideas of what you want. This is going to be very important because they need to then go and create quotes for you. And a lot of these things are not same day response times. So again, it's eating into your time and your day is drawing closer and closer. So as much as possible, if you know what you want, and specifically as much as possible know what you want, it's easier for you to communicate with the service providers. The minute you get in touch with them, they respond to you, which is also a very special thing. Some of them just don't reply. Like, it's a lot looking for service providers in Zim. I can't emphasize that enough. But anyways, they do finally reply to you. The next question is going to be, hi. They ask you things like, when is your roora day? They want a date. They want how many people are attending. They want, and then they want your idea for whatever it is, be it food, be it the decor, be it your dress, be it your husband's outfit, all of that. So as much as possible, have that sort of at least planned out in your head. It's always such a pleasure. And this, if you're a service provider, please write this down. It's always such a pleasure working with a service provider who's also able to contribute to the idea of what you have. Like, I'm a person who takes a while to make up my mind about anything, so I'll be like, maybe I should do purple, maybe I should do green, maybe I should do, you understand? It's always nice to have a service provider who says things like, oh, you know what, we could actually mix this and that. What if we put this color and that color together? What if we put this dish and that dish together? Oh, these African dishes go well together. It is such an added value to be able to have a service provider like that. But at the end of the day, my point is you need a starting point. And the more specific that starting point is, the better it is for you and for the service provider to be able to communicate with you effectively, and for you guys to be able to see if your little business relationship is going to work out or not. And essentially, you'll be saving time as much as possible. So, tip number 4 for me would be to be mentally prepared. And also, most importantly within this tip, is to keep your vision for your day close, you understand, in your mind. Just always use it as the consistent point of reference. The reason I say this is that you will come to see, like when you're planning your lobola day, your roora day, that this day is about so much more than just you. There are so many people that are involved, so many people that have input and opinions and suggestions, and rightfully so, because it naturally is a process that involves a lot of like the elders. So with those inputs and stuff comes sort of like an unsaid pressure, because these inputs are coming from people that you love very much and you respect very much, because like I said, a lot of them are actually like your elders, people who should be guiding you, and as much as possible, there are parts of the day that really you will have just about no control over, parts of the day that are just due to the family, due to both your families and the elders and whatever, and you know what, hand it to them, let them have it. But there are portions of the day, e.g. the celebratory part where, the negotiations have been done, the people have sat in the room and, paid you off, whatever. And now it's time to like eat, celebrate, be merry. That part of the day, you at least get to influence. I think that's the part of the day that you get to influence the most. And sometimes, like I said, with all the inputs from people, I think you should do this, I think you should do that, and no one is even making you do anything, but because you respect these people so much and because they're your elders, sometimes you feel like an unsaid pressure to listen and to conform and to comply, right? But you also, I think for me, when I sort of went through that, I started to feel really, really frustrated, and I am glad that my husband and I could sort of like mentally realign each other and say, dude, what did we actually want for the day? When we started planning this event, what did we envision? What did we want to see happen on that day? And we went back to the drawing board and basically said, in terms of the celebratory part of the day, this is what we saw, and so this is what we're going to work towards. If other people have suggestions that make sense, great, we'll have a think about it, we'll consider it, and put it into action if need be. But otherwise, the way that we envision the day is basically how we then chose to execute the planning of the day, and just basically arranging everything and putting it together. So as much as we're not saying that suggestions should be shut off, everybody is evil trying to ruin your day, no, but I'm saying if you start to receive suggestions and things that are pressuring you, making you feel like this is not what I want, go back to the drawing board. Go back to the place that you were at when you started planning this day, so that you can have a day that you actually enjoy, a day that you're pleased with at the end of the day. That's my tip number 4. So my last tip is a little bit random, but this is something that I wanted to talk about because I remember feeling it so profoundly on the day, and I just felt like, you know what, I should actually probably tell somebody this, even though it's completely random. But my last tip is, guys, marry the right person and for the right reasons. And I say this because, y'all, my lobola day, my roora day, came and went in a flash. I woke up, I blinked, we were negotiating. I blinked, we were celebrating. I blinked, it was nighttime. It was over, it was done. And I remember lying in bed and thinking to myself, imagine if my entire motive for marriage had been the wedding. And I was now sitting here at the end of this very regular 24 hours. Like, just because you're getting married, it's not going to be 25 hours in a day. It's not going to be 26. It's still 24. And possibly the fastest 24 hours you've ever been through. And at the end of it all, now you're lying there with this person that you don't even really like, or you're not even sure you really like, just because you were so motivated by the wedding day. Guys, marry somebody that you really, at the end of the day, can lie there and be like, this is the best part. You understand? Like, well, it's not the best part. I mean, there's so many good things about the day, but you know what I'm saying. So, somewhere in finishing off this recording, I lost my chain of thought, and I felt like the rest of this portion of the video didn't exactly get across the message that I wanted to get across, if that makes sense. But basically, what I really wanted to say is that marry for the marriage, marry with the marriage in mind, and not so much the wedding. Be with someone that you really see yourself spending the rest of your life with, because at the end of the wedding day, the deco's going to come down, people are going to go home, and it's just going to be you and your person, you and the person that you chose, and it's going to be time to build a life. And that wedding day, I promise you, won't even mean as much. Like, you borderline forget that it even happens. Like, once in a while you'll bump into a picture and be like, oh my gosh, remember, oh my gosh, was this person there? And that's going to be it. Other than that, it almost plays no part in your marriage. So pick wisely, marry wisely, marry with forever in mind. That's what I really wanted to get across. Well, peeps, that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening all the way through if you did. If you are in the process of planning your lobola, your roora, congratulations first of all, and enjoy this time. Enjoy this time. I think soak it in, all of it. There's a time and a phase for everything in life, including the planning and the frustrations that come with it. But I promise you, at the end of the day, you and the love of your life will sit back and look and laugh and say, wow, remember when we were so stressed about this and that? And you know what I mean? And I mean that in the most literal sense. There are some things that my husband and I laugh about now, like, you know, so yeah, enjoy. Good luck. I pray that your day turns out exactly the way you envisioned it and even better. And for those of you who are just watching with future prospects of love and marriage, I pray it upon you. I wish it upon you. I call the Lord upon your desires. And I say, may he fulfill them in the name of Jesus. I sound like I'm joking, but I'm not, really. I think marriage is absolutely something to pray about, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Please leave some comments down below if you have anything to say, if you have any other tips, things that you've experienced that you want to share with others who are planning their special day. Let us know. But otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. I may potentially do a part 2 because I still have quite a few things that I would like to share, but I did not want to make this video too long. So I'm going to end it here for today. But otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Till next time.